What's up, everybody? Jack Foy here on behalf of Box to Box Football, coming at you today with a video looking at fixing your football team in about 5 minutes or so, probably. What we're going to be doing today is just looking at a team's needs by comparing them to their competitors within the league. So what that would mean is looking at the goalkeeper position and ranking all the goalkeepers, seeing where one team may not need an upgrade and where another team may need an upgrade. Obviously, the ideal is that everybody wants to have that number one spot, but we know that's not always going to be possible. Now, the way I'm going to be doing this, here's the table here, is I'm using something called a depth chart. Now, I'm sure many of you will just automatically know what that is, but for those of you that don't, I'll just go through a quick explanation. So a depth chart is you have the positions across here. So you've got the goalkeeper's there, you've got the right backs there, you've got the two centre-back spots there, left back, etc., across the thing. And you rank them with 1, 2, 3, 4. I've used 9 teams. Now, I'm very, very sorry to Aston Villa fans. You probably deserve a spot on this list. But to me, looking forward, and I can't ignore West Ham at this point, but to me, looking forward, I think that a team like Arsenal, a team like Everton, Liverpool, etc., are going to be more likely nearer the tops of these kind of lists in the future, whereas Villa may not be. So Villa fans, give me all your hate. I want it all. But what we're going to do, so what I've done, is I have ranked them position by position. So if we use goalkeeper as an example here, my worst ranked goalkeeper right here is Jordan Pickford for Everton. Then Eduard Mendy for Chelsea, Bernd Leno, David De Gea, Fabianski, Hugo Lloris, Peter Schmeichel, oh my God, Kasper Schmeichel, Alisson Becker, and Edison Moraes. Now, the idea here, and the way that I've done it and the way that players qualify for spots on these lists are because they've played the most games. So just as an example, for, say, Manchester City, Sergio Aguero is not on this list. It's actually Gabriel Jesus. Manchester United, Paul Pogba's not on this list. He's not played as many games as a Scott McTominay or a Fred. Guys, you can be one of the best players in the world, but if you don't play for the team you play for, then because you're injured or you're unavailable for whatever reason, then I'm sorry, but that team isn't going to include you in how you come up against that team. And you know, it's the players on the pitch that count, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get started. So first of all, Manchester City. I've got here needs left back, central midfield, right wing, and striker. First of all, at left back, let's highlight where we have Alexander Zinchenko. Now, I'm well aware that João Cancelo is not in this list, and he's been one of the better performers this season. Pep's found a really kind of unique and very cool way to use João Cancelo. To me, the perfect Pep Guardiola fullback has all the talent that he's kind of required with there. But if you'll notice, and you've watched enough Man City games this year, João Cancelo does not play kind of a rigid fullback position. He's given lots of instructions to do very kind of unique and very clever things for the Man City team. So to call him a consistent option at left back would not be right. So Alexander Zinchenko has actually played more games at left back. That is a clear kind of upgrade for me. At that spot. Mendy's not the answer as much as I think we all like Mendy because he's good fun and all this kind of stuff. I think we would say, generally speaking, it's going to be a Walker-Cancelo fullback option for Man City, but I think potentially an upgrade there at left back would potentially be necessary for this Man City team. It's very difficult to think of very many upgrades for this Man City team. Moving on, central midfielder. Now, look, we've got Kevin De Bruyne here, who's in this kind of first tier of central midfielders with his pal Ilkay Gundogan there, and Rodrigo's not far behind in the kind of central midfield 3 spots with James Maddison and Yuri Tielemans there. For me, the reason why I've put central midfielder here, you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is the best midfield 3 that you've put here based on how you've ranked them. Fernandinho has been a really, really important part of this Manchester City team over however many years it's been. You know, really, at this point, I don't think it's too crazy to say up there with the likes of Yaya Toure, David Silva, in terms of impact. But I think we need a replacement for that Fernandinho spot. Somebody who can come in, who knows the system well, and who can just cover the holes. And we've seen Fernandinho do that over the latter stages of his Man City career. I think that's a worthwhile purchase for Man City. Like I say, it's hard to improve upon this Manchester City team. Next is right wing. Yeah. Ferran Torres has not really been kind of the main option there for them. He's come on as a sub. Not really impressed me too much. I think it was a weird signing when he was signed anyway. But I guess there's still time left, and I know what Pep can do with younger players and what he can kind of bring them and turn them into if they're patient and they really listen to what he has to say. Bernardo Silva as well. I know many of you might say, well, Bernardo Silva can come in and play off the right. Bernardo Silva, similar to Cancelo, is kind of Pep's toy. And can really do a number of different roles and fulfill a number of different positions for Pep Guardiola and what he wants to do and what he wants to achieve on any given game week. So I don't think you can say Bernardo Silva is a right winger. I don't know if that's fair to Bernardo Silva. And lastly, striker. And you'll see this across the board in the transfer market and in football at the moment. There is a general lack of kind of top quality centre forward striker types. A lot of the guys who we know to be the best have been guys who've been there and done it for a long time. Lewandowski, Kane, Benzema, etc., etc. We haven't really had that breakthrough of the next few guys coming through. Some guys have threatened it, but I think it's fair to say that they haven't really hit the heights yet that everyone else was hoping for or expecting. So yeah. Aguero, burnt out, has been playing top level football for a long time, very physically demanding style of football from Aguero as well, and he's just burnt out. And Gabriel Jesus, I've got him here as the striker number 5, not good enough yeah, so there we go. And Riyad Mahrez as well, I should have mentioned him as well. He's there number 4, just not the answer for me. For a Champions League winning, multi-time, Premier League winning level of team, just a little bit of a weak spell going forward, in my opinion, there for Man City. Moving on to Manchester United. So if rumours are to be believed, there's half a chance that Manchester United might sell 3 of their goalkeepers this off-season. David De Gea has just had his first child with his girlfriend or wife. Dean Henderson may not be the answer either, and with interest from Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham, Everton, all these kind of other top teams, and somebody potentially like Oblak or Donnarumma or somebody of that nature being available, there is a chance that Manchester United might want to upgrade that position. It's been an area that has been contentious for a couple of years now. David De Gea is not the peak of his powers as he was a couple of years ago, where he was kind of the clear number 1 in the world. Really kind of fallen off here. De Gea has played more games this season than Henderson, which is why he does fill this spot here. And even if you made me put Henderson in here, I'd still say he's probably ranked below Fabianski based on his performances so far this season. Probably just above De Gea, though. Maguire. Yeah, guys, look, another centre-back needs to be signed for Manchester United. Victor Lindelof is way down here at centre-back 8 in terms of the rankings, but Maguire is still up there as 3. He gets a lot of criticism because of how much he cost. Remember, Maguire does not choose his price. He chooses, obviously, he gets to negotiate his own contract. Maguire, despite all the criticism, has not been that bad. He's not been brilliant, not been up to the likes of, Kurt Zouma, Fofana, Stones or Diaz so far this season, but he's right up there with Toby Alderweireld, above Mina and Thiago Silva. He has still been solid this year. It's interesting. I still believe Eric Bailly is the best centre-back at Manchester United. Call me crazy. I see elite, top level ability from that guy, but he cannot stay fit, cannot get a run of games. So for me, unless the answer is already there needs to be another signing there at centre-back for Manchester United. Right wing. Yeah, look, guys, I've got Mason Greenwood here. Has played most in that position. Not scored too many goals, not got that many assists. Look, he's still providing a really good threat and a good outlet for Manchester United. Anybody who's watched any Manchester United games this season, I don't think you can say that Mason Greenwood has been bad this season at all. The goals and assists just haven't come for him. And I would still say, compared to the rest of this group, I would still probably take the likes of a Lucas, Hudson-Odoi, Albright, and even Jarrod Bowen above the way Mason Greenwood has played so far this year. No surprise, of course, the interest in Jadon Sancho, Ousmane Dembele, etc., etc. And I expect that's not going to be a shock for Man United fans to still be the case in the future. Striker, yeah, guys, Anthony Martial is not the answer. I think everybody was waiting for him to really kick on and they thought that he had the talent potentially to do so. There are flashes, I will not deny. There are flashes where he can play that number 9 position really well with his back to goal, hold up the ball nicely, play it out, and then become an option again. But to me, this is still a left winger who cuts in on his right foot, much in a similar vein to somebody like Marcus Rashford. So for me, you need a striker to knit it all together. The likes of an Erling Haaland out there, I know he's going to be heavily competed for. Is that the right word? Competed for? Anyway, competed for this off-season. Solskjaer, having managed him at Mulder, and that relationship obviously is kind of a benefit to them. But don't be surprised if the likes of Man City and some of the other teams we're going to mention will also be keen for that as well. So moving on to Leicester City. I've only got 2 needs here, right wing and striker. And that's more from a standpoint of they need to keep their stars. They need to keep their kind of better players. And what I mean by that is, look, Schmeichel may not be going anywhere. Castagna may not be going anywhere. Fofana might draw interest from other teams, especially when he gets recognised internationally. Johnny Evans may not be going anywhere. James Justin, solid option, going to keep getting better. The midfield is the main one. Wilfred Ndidi, James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans. These are all players who can play for top level teams. Especially if they have 1 or 2 more good seasons, they will easily leave, potentially even this off-season. If the right offer comes in, you would not rule a player like maybe, say, Tielemans signing for one of these top level teams because they have that ability. So it's not really about improving in areas for Leicester City. It's more about keeping the guys they already have. However, in improvements, this may not strictly be fair, but the right wing spot has been mostly played by Mark Albrighton this year. You can't be relying on Mark Albrighton to be a top 4 team, and potentially with the right couple of signings, maybe even a title challenging team. There needs to be an upgrade there. The likes of an Jose Perez or Ricardo Pereira, it's not quite their spot. I think Perez likes being that kind of second striker, sitting with a guy he can play off of. And Ricardo Pereira really is kind of a wing-back or even just a wide midfielder in maybe a 4-4-2, let's say. So I think a big upgrade needs to be made there at right wing back. Right wing. He's played well this year. I won't deny it, but it just doesn't. Has he been that much better than somebody like Hudson-Odoi, Lucas Moura, Greenwood? Not really. The right wing spot across here is very weak, and a lot of them are very close in terms of talent. Next up, long-term Jamie Vardy replacement. I've still got Jamie Vardy as my striker here as number 3. I still think he offers that kind of venom in what he can bring to the team, but bit of a dry spell now in terms of goals, and we know that Father Time is undefeated, and you can't be relying on Jamie Vardy all the time. Kelechi Iheanacho, I think, has been really good and has shown a lot of improvements. Jose Perez won't be the answer, but somebody to come in with Iheanacho, and then for them to kind of have a little battle for who's going to be that number 9 for Leicester. Iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, whatever the expression is. And I think maybe Leicester will be set in the striker if they can bring another talent in who can just challenge there as well. Moving on to Chelsea. The main thing with Chelsea, I would say to you guys, is they don't really need anything. They have a lot of their answers amongst the squad. Some of their lower ranking performers here will ignore striker because that is one of their needs. But Timo Werner as the 7th ranked left winger, I still think he'll get better. You've also got Christian Pulisic, somebody like Hakim Ziyech as well. Kai Havertz doesn't make this list because he hasn't had enough kind of clear starting appearances over some of the other guys. Hudson-Odoi still there. This is the thing. There's some big, talented names for Chelsea Football Club that could come in next season and shoot way up these kind of rankings, which is why I don't think they need too much. And obviously they spent very heavily last summer. So for me, the needs goalkeeper. Yeah, guys, it's been a mess. It's been an absolute mess. Worst football signing of all time, Kepa Arrizabalaga. 7-year deal for a bad goalkeeper. I don't know what else to tell you. Still incredibly at the club and will be for years to come. The guy's not going to let his contract kind of cut short here at all. And Edouard Mendy, it's been fine. He's come in and done what's necessary, but I don't think he's blown anybody's socks off. I don't see Chelsea winning a Premier League title with somebody like Edouard Mendy in goal. I think you've got to look to somebody else. Yeah, again, somebody like Dean Henderson, Donnarumma. Who knows who's going to be available for them, but that's certainly an upgrade that they can go for. And striker, Guys, the final piece of the puzzle. We've seen that Chelsea have been solid enough defensively with Thomas Tuchel, with somebody like Mendy in goal. I think the striker is the final piece of the puzzle. There's no surprises at all why links to Erling Haaland are happening. You'd imagine Erling Haaland in this Chelsea team and you're immediately looking at title contenders. I would say to you, though, from reports that I've read, the one thing with Erling Haaland, he's obviously going to want his money. His agent is Mino Raiola, and he wants a team that he knows is going to consistently finish in the top four and be playing Champions League football. That's what he wants. This guy has that Ronaldo-level mentality, wants to be playing the best each and every time. And I'll be honest, if we look back at the Premier League table here, you'd imagine the top three are relatively well set here, City, United and Leicester. But Chelsea, West Ham, Tottenham, even Liverpool with a good run of games getting back on their feet here. And I'll throw Everton into that conversation. Everton win their game in hand. They're on 49 points, just 2 off Chelsea. Chelsea can slip 1 or 2 games and they're in a really bad place for making top 4, and Erling Haaland will not want to sign there. But there are obviously other options out there, but the market is pretty slim for that kind of thing. So moving on to West Ham United. West Ham, keep Declan Rice. There he is, central midfield number 4. I know I've got Souček ranked higher. He's actually my 5th ranked central midfielder. I really think he's been that good this year. But Rice is kind of the main long-term contender. Souček, I don't know if Souček joins any other teams. I think David Moyes knows how to use those big midfielders better than anybody. This is his new Marouane Fellaini, what he's been capable of. But Declan Rice is going to be the main thing to keep here. Very, very important. And yet again, look, upgrade for Cresswell. I'm kind of scraping the barrel there. Upgrade, maybe an outgoing Mark Noble at central midfield. Yeah, sure. Left wing, where's our left winger here? Pablo Fornals has largely played that position, but if we're being totally honest, they've got other options there who could come in. And then striker, maybe to support somebody like Mikel Antonio. I don't really want to go into too much detail because I don't feel super strongly about West Ham signing any of those players. Maybe another central midfielder, like a solid option at central midfield, is the strongest one I feel about. Similar in many ways to Leicester, but slightly differently. It's about risk and reward. West Ham have recruited and signed some really top quality players for not a lot of money here. And West Ham are in this position now where they could be playing Champions League football next season. They could be. We're not going to rule that out. Chances are they'll be playing Europa League football. But what do you do? What do you do? Every single, and I'm just going to go on a bit of a rant here. Every single season, Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea are going to throw money at a situation and see where it goes. Okay? Liverpool kind of had this spell where they went through it, but it's never going to be something that they consistently do all the time to kind of the top level. Tottenham as well are smart with their money. Arsenal, we know what the owners are like there, good lord. And we're getting to a point now with West Ham where it's like, well, look, Villa are kind of just on the outside looking into those top spots. West Ham are right in the thick of it. And it's how much do you want to kind of upset the apple cart at this point with big splashy signings? We saw a big splashy signing in Sebastian Haller, and we saw how that worked. It was a £10 million loss to sell him to go back to, I believe it was to go back to the Bundesliga. So I'm just putting it out there. West Ham, there are these needs, and I'd say upgrades where you could say maybe sign somebody just for competition for positions and stuff. But the way West Ham have signed players over the last 18 months or so has been really quite exemplary. And I would say to them, just keep doing what they're doing because they're going in the right place. And David Moyes is a very safe pair of hands in terms of the manager working with less to get more out of. So kind of a weird one with West Ham. I just wanted to kind of leave that out there. Tottenham Hotspur. The back line's got to totally change. I'll point out here, I've got Doherty ranked as the worst right back. Davies ranked as the worst left back as well. I don't think these guys are... I don't think Davies is strictly worse than Zinchenko, Cresswell, even Chilwell, Justin, somebody like that. But this season, that's what it's been. Centre-back as well. You can't keep relying on Toby Alderweireld. He was nice enough to not pursue a move to a top team during kind of the peak of his career, which you'd imagine he could have very easily done so, but he chose not to do it. He's still there just below Harry Maguire in terms of his performances. And then you've got Eric Dyer back down here. It's not been pretty with Davinson Sanchez. It's not been pretty with some of the other guys that they've brought in to try and do a job there. The whole back line basically needs a complete change for this Tottenham team, which isn't good. I've also put down that they could do with an upgraded goalkeeper. I like Hugo Lloris. I think he's a good leader. I think he provides that, dressing room presence. He rarely makes kind of major mistakes and is, generally speaking, a safe pair of hands. But this is not the kind of goalkeeper who you're going to rely on week after week after week to try and make a push for a title in the Premier League. That's a top maybe third or fourth position goalkeeper at best. And with the defence in front of him in the way it is at the moment, I think you could do with an upgrade, coming to an end there for the World Cup winner. Next, keeping Harry Kane. Look, it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. You need to talk about a replacement manager and a project and some money being available to improve the squad to keep Kane there. I think Kane this season has really, truly realised, his career is flashing in front of him. He's going to be a less successful Alan Shearer. He has a World Cup golden boot, and hey, kudos to him. But there were a lot of penalties against a lot of weak sides. Okay, in a tournament where England faced one decent team and lost. All right, I'm English. It hurts. Trust me. Harry Kane needs to pursue a move because, guys, he's probably not going to go to Chelsea. Let's be honest. But I'm seeing a lot of teams above him. I'm actually seeing every team above him where I've considered that they need another option at striker. Man City could do with a striker. Man United could do with a striker. Leicester City, Chelsea. It's going to be difficult for somebody like Harry Kane to keep hold of this. Real Madrid could use a striker. Alvaro Morata, Juventus. Chances are the Morata loan is not going to be made permanent. Juventus might be in the market for a striker. Also potentially selling Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm just saying there's lots of moving pieces around Europe's top teams, and there are plenty of teams there who would love a Harry Kane in their lineup. So that's going to be important for them. And then the only other one, just add another central midfielder in there. I really like Tanguy Ndombele, and I really like Højbjerg. I think those two in those spots there have been really solid from Mourinho this year. Obviously along the lights with how outstanding Kane and Son have been. I just think they need that third spot. We've got Moussa Sissoko languishing down here just above Granit Xhaka. Moving on to Liverpool. Look, guys, it's a one-off year for Liverpool. It's a real shame. Injury hit. A headache from a COVID season, and it's been very weird, and where do people's motivations lie, and you don't have the Anfield crowd and all this kind of stuff. But I think the big thing, Virgil van Dijk's got to come back. See if he can kind of build a relationship with somebody like an Ozan Kabak for the future. Get Trent back to playing good football like we know he can. Andy Robertson. Have the midfielders start playing midfield again and not playing centre-back like they've been playing all season. Guys, I've got Fabinho ranked here down with Dawson in my kind of 7th ranked pairing of centre-backs here, just below Ogbonna and Keane, above Lindelof and Dyer. Fabinho should be somewhere in here in the midfield. We know what he's capable of in a different position, but that's where he's played most of this season. So they need to get fit. In midfield, they need to replace Jorginho Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum has not had a good year. I think he mentally is elsewhere. I think, he sees himself playing for Ronald Koeman, his compatriot, Dutch compatriot, in a Barcelona kit, maybe playing with Lionel Messi in a midfield with Frenkie de Jong and these kind of guys, okay? So I understand where his head's at, and, fair play to him in all honesty, but a replacement needs to come in there. Thiago needs to find his feet, get Henderson back playing a little better football as well, and then somebody like a Naby Keita needs to properly step up. Diogo Jota as well needs to replace Mane as a permanent thing. Maybe Liverpool try and find some money for Sadio Mane. He's actually been brilliant this year. But no matter how much I bang the drum and tell people how much better Mane is than Mo Salah will always get the goals, and that will always beat me down. Also, with the commercial appeal of somebody like Mo Salah, that huge kind of Northeast Africa, East Africa, Muslim. He really hits so many points for young kids in that area to really look up to him, and as a piece for Liverpool from that standpoint is very, very important as well. So they're not going to sell him, and then a replacement at striker for our old pal Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino is a great player, very interesting player. Not very traditional when it comes to the sense of striker, but that front three, the time's up. It's got to be refreshed. Jota, they've already got Jota. Salah's probably going to be the one to stay, and then somebody else does need to come in there and just mix things up a little bit. But, I expect Liverpool to be back if Klopp stays, if Van Dijk comes back. This team could be right up there again with Man City again next season, but it all depends on how things goes in terms of replacements. Moving on to Everton. Yeah, look, I've got them. They only need a couple of needs here, goalkeeper and right back. Keeping Ancelotti is very important. I don't think it can go stated about how brilliant he has been and how that kind of respect, but also his experience across the board has benefited this Everton team. A stronger option at right back as well. I know Seamus Coleman's not been quite at it this year, missed a few games. Holgate's come in, kind of reminds me of kind of a Rob Holding, Phil Jones type, where it's kind of like you've got this British, English guy who you wouldn't really trust at centre-back, but they can do a job at right back. So they're kind of in and around the squad. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'm sure there's plenty of other examples I can think of who fill those kind. Eric Dyer as well, kind of like that as well. Who kind of fill those spots. So another option at right back I think would be good. Go with Michael Keane, Yerry Mina, and Luca Digne. I think that would be amazing. The midfield as well. I've got the midfield ranked quite low. So you've got Andre Gomez here. And then you've got Doucouré and Alam there. So very low, 2 7s and a 9 in terms of the midfield. But they're still getting to know one another. It's not just been like one player's been added in. It's like all fresh faces for this Everton team, and they will just get better. So I don't see the need for a major improvement there at central midfield for Everton. A top quality goalkeeper. Guys, Jordan Pickford's ceiling and his top potential is right up here with Alisson and Edison. He can do some fantastic athletic things. His delivery and his output, his throw and his kicks can be amazing, like the best in the world for that kind of role. But the mistakes, it's been a concern. Being dropped and replaced by Robin Olsen, trust me, is not something that you want to put on your resume. And if they can sign somebody like a Dean Henderson, I think that would be a brilliant fit for Everton Football Club. And look, guys, my big thing with Everton, I look at the manager, I look at the starting 11. If they can sign a right back and maybe somebody like a Dean Henderson, top 4, a title push, why not? What are you seeing in this Everton team that makes you think that they're not going to make at least top 4? Maybe some inexperience at that top level of football, which maybe some of their opponents might have, like Man Cities of the world might have, but I don't see why not. I think really the sky is the limit for this Everton team. So to round it off, unfortunately on a little bit of a downer, Arsenal Football Club. And I did kind of want James in for this video so that we could maybe debate this a little more. But I'll just kind of give my piece to it and maybe we'll get a reaction from him at some point. First of all, what a mess, guys. What a mess. Let's start right back. Bellerin, time's up. Time's up for Bellerin. Doesn't seem like his heart's in it anymore. I know the guy probably has goals in fashion and outside of football, and I just wonder if that's kind of getting to him a little bit more. But I think he needs a move for the betterment of his career and also for the betterment of Arsenal. I asked James, Bellerin to Cedric, is that a huge fall off? I really don't think it is. And the money you could get for Bellerin and then invest in another right back, a Max Aarons, for example. Hey, let's throw my guy from Norwich out there. Centre back, yeah. Look, Holding has been brilliant. I don't think anybody expected Rob Holding's performances to, no pun intended, hold up to the level that they've been this year. He's right there with Evans, been better, in my opinion, than Ogbonna, Michael Keane, just worse than Thiago Silva and Yerry Mina. And, some pretty decent company from a player like Rob Holding, who I don't know if we expected that from. But yeah, again, Arsenal fans, I will ask you, do you think you're making top 4 with Rob Holding as a starting centre-back? Just putting that out there, okay? But then another centre-back, because, guys, good grief, David Luiz, it's not pretty. Pablo Mari, it's not pretty. Gabriel, I think, has really good traits and maybe a Holding-Gabriel partnership going forward, but yet again, is that partnership that's going to win a Premier League? Probably not. Similar to that, like I mentioned, with West Ham, and it kind of falls into the same realms with a team like maybe Tottenham, maybe even a team like Everton, if a few results go the wrong way. There's a couple big signings which don't work out so well, apart from being a mid-table team again. And Arsenal are, I hate to say it, firmly in that category. Bernd Leno gets a lot of gets a lot of criticism for mistakes, not doing things the right way. His midfielders and defenders do not put him in a position where he can flourish and and he can show how truly good I believe him to be. So where were we? The midfield is a major problem. Thomas Partey has come in and done okay, but I don't think he's blown anybody away. Ceballos is not good enough. I think there was some really good optimism for Arsenal across the board, with his reputation and where he came from. But in my opinion, not truly lived up to it. Granit Xhaka is the worst person on this list. I cannot believe that he still plays for that football club. I like what Granit Xhaka can be potentially, but there's way too much inconsistency to his game and way too many red flags for me when I'm trying to evaluate him as a player that makes me think that any top side would want him. And the price paid for him originally, I remember being some crazy amount. Yeah, God, let's close the coffin and hammer some nails into that thing. Aubameyang, look, bad contract for Arsenal. Bad contract. They need an upgrade over that left wing position. Aubameyang was fine, but this reeks to me of Alexis Sanchez. This reeks to me of Mesut Ozil. Big contract is paid, and then the player kind of just falls off a cliff. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is heavily reliant on his speed. Players, as they get older, you don't mind giving players longer contracts who don't rely on top level strength or top level speed. A player like a Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm not trying to compare Aubameyang to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is not overly reliant on his strength, not overly reliant on his speed. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is heavily reliant in the way that he plays football on his size and his frame, which does not diminish. He stays the same shape that he is. He's always going to be that tall. Size is a skill. And he's always going to have that flexibility to hit those volleys, to take the ball under control from crazy angles and all those kind of things. So giving somebody like Zlatan Ibrahimovic a contract into longer age is an easily done thing, and we've seen his success. Aubameyang is a pace merchant, speed merchant across the board. And as he gets older and older, one thing that does not maintain is speed. And we've seen that kind of fall off a little bit here as well. So I think left wing is another big thing for Arsenal as well. And then, striker. Lacazette, it's just inconsistent for me. I like Lacazette and I want to like Lacazette. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I truly am going to rate Lacazette higher than if Firmino stays at Liverpool next season, if Jesus is the starter for City next season, if Mikel Antonio is the starter, even Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, Kane, and Martial could catch fire, Abraham could catch fire, and then Lacazette could still fall off. So improvements across the board. And the main thing with Arsenal, similar to West Ham in a lot of ways, and I just want to bring up my notes here, it's risk and reward, okay? Do you make a bunch of splashy signings, but then for whatever reason it doesn't work out and the recruitment doesn't work out? Because I'll be honest, Arsenal's recruitment has not been good. The only kind of, I would say, bright light to recruitment as of late, Kieran Tierney's obviously been great to bring in. Odegaard's been great, but we know that that's on loan. And if he continues to play well, Real Madrid are probably going to want to keep him. And the issue is long-term that you're in this spot where it's like, well, are we a big team anymore? Because we're not making top four consistently now, and all the teams around us have gotten better, so I don't know what to do. It's an easier pill to swallow if you're Everton, maybe even if you're Tottenham, if you're West Ham, or even to a certain extent if you're Leicester, to finish outside that top six and go, okay, we gave it a go, we were solid for a while, let's rebuild again, let's see where we're at and try and compete with the big boys. Arsenal are at a point now where they are, I'm going to put Arsenal in the same kind of tier now as Everton, as Tottenham and as West Ham. They're right in that kind of bracket. Liverpool, I think we know they've been hurt, but they really kind of fall into that bracket at the moment, and you have to do the risk and reward of spending a bunch of money, but then if you don't get the reward for that money, the owners aren't going to want to do that very, very much anymore or very often. So very, very tricky, and maybe I hope I got my point across there for Arsenal, you guys, a lot. There's some serious changes need to be made to even be close to being a top six team again. And no, I don't think it's the manager's fault. I like Mikel Arteta. Guys, let me know what you think. Have I fixed your team in 5 minutes? It was probably a hell of a lot longer than 5 minutes. Also, let me know what you think of my rankings here. I kind of just did this depth chart just to see where teams were at. I did this kind of total number here, which you can then kind of divide by 11 to see kind of where the team ranks across the board. You'll see how poorly Arsenal rank. They're 70 more points the worse. They're right at the bottom there. Obviously, Man City at the top, 30. You know, a top 2, top 3 average across position is unbelievable. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. What we'll probably start to do as we get into the transfer window a little bit more, maybe even during the Euros, but probably in kind of the weeks just after the Euros or just before the Euros, I'll start to look at the names of these kind of candidates. I've dropped a couple names in here and there, but obviously I know you want to know exacting names for which midfielder that West Ham should go for, or which right back Arsenal should go for. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love it if you drop the like. James and I are getting very close to 200 subscribers. I know it's kind of a silly, kind of small landmark for us, but we'd really appreciate your help to get us there. But yeah, any questions, comments? I'm always pretty active in the comments and the replies. Let me know what you think. Until next time, I'll see you.